besides gore ngwana o tsholetse mo lenyalong ngwana ga a tsholla mo lenyalong, what we should understand is ngwana ke ngwana. Every child needs love. Every child needs protection. Every child needs nurturing and socialization. Just love the kids, just love the kids as much as you would want to love yourself.
Ganti mo community nya rona, we tend to see men less engaged in terms of being there for their children. What do you think is the root cause of it, and regarding or what can be done to encourage men to be there for their children, regardless of the circumstances that we face in life? Or just be there for your children, to give support, like you were talking about support earlier.
What we need to do as a society is to socialize the boy child, empower the boy child, or a better partner, man and husband at a time that they get to that.
Like you were speaking about mental health, I've been diagnosed with depression, and mental health in that space. That is why I'm trying all that I can to try to create safe conversations or environments to say, can we listen to each other? Times if you can offer me that solution, you can refer me to somebody who can. King batho baborre ekare ga ba batle tota ha ile kganye ya therapy lo tshaba eng go ka go bua kana ka.
By nature hela banna we don't like feeling weak. We don't want to expose our vulnerability. It's just the nature of man. We don't want to show that we can be weak. We don't want to show that we can be emotional. Now, when the issue of
Dumelang batswana ko gae, ke bidwa Boitumelo Keoagile. I'm the host of Blossom with Boy. Today ke na le re Mothusi Ncube we leng gore ke moeng wa rona, but ke tla mo letlela gore ene a lo ipolele gore ke mang o tswa kae. Dumela re Mothusi, ke dumelwa gore o amogetse invite ya rona.
Thank you for having me. Ke bidwa Mothusi Ncube, ke tsholetse ko Mahalape ka baka gorela ko Mahalape ka tsena sekolo ko Mahalape ka go bereka be ke hella ke le mo gaborone.
O tswa ko president a something.
Batho ba batona ba tswa.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's a proud moment for batho ba Mahalape, for the presidency to have been in our village, and I think we are proud of the president, and we root for him, and we wish him all the best in his leadership.
No, that's good. Ke itumela go bua mogetse taletso ya rona tota taletso e sale ke go ye halasti re ne le event e leng gore ne re planner to try to support mental health wa borre, and you were one of our panelists who were supposed to speak, and unfortunately due to a low turnover kana nkare ya batho ka haneng ba amogetse event ka teng ga ra ka ra tswela ka event mme ne ke eletsa gore content e neng ke batla go e share le batswana be ke re mme ke batla go nantse gore re Mothusi a tle go share se neng ke batla gore a se share ka gore re tshela mo dinakong tse leng gore ra re le batswana gore re tlogala motho a re ko morago be it motho wa mosimanyana kana mogolo. So we have to try different strategies or maybe have conversations like these ones to try to gore re tlwaetse gore we can have conversations. So ke letsa gore o re bolele gore o le re Mothusi, one o dira eng ka tsatsi le letsatsi, o buile ka gore o nyetse, o na le bana, how do you handle or maybe navigate your marriage, o na le tiro ka ha, o na le bana ka ha, o na le I believe you are an entrepreneur as well, gore o na le all in one. How do you make it a balanced thing? How do you have a balanced life?
I think first and foremost is to acknowledge life in itself, it's a challenge. And for one to be able to run through it, they need to be stronger. And we derive our strength from different points. As a parent, as a partner, a father, a husband. My wife is part of, is my pillar of strength. She is my main supporter in everything that I do. Over and above, ke kgang ya go ithulaganya. I think go ithulaganya go botlhokwa in terms of gore what do you want to see mo botshelong, what do you need mo botshelong, and how do you navigate these different roles as a human being. I'm a professionally trained nurse, midwife, and I'm an educator. So go mo go nthusitse mo go nneng motho ke lenyana gompieno in terms of professionally and socially, because tiro ya booki and go nna motho o belegisang go nthutile go tshela le batho, go amogela batho, le I think to care a bit more, because it's a caring profession that we are in, and go go thusa gore le ha o tswela konte socially o khone gore o bone batho ba bangwe in a different and special way. So professionally ke ka ile gore go nthusa gore ke khone go navigate botshelo ka teng as a healthcare provider, and as a father I think mo go nna ke kgolo ga ke a gola ke le sure ka story gore I'm going to be a father, a husband. It occurred to me, and when it did, I think ke ne ka graduate ka bonako into the role. But I'm thankful to my wife for that sort of support, and continue to look forward to go gola le ene mo lerato mo lenyalong le go godisa bana.
E bile ka o bua ka lenyalo ke tle ke bue ka go from my observation though ke etse tlhoko gore bana ba ba godisediwang mo lenyalong le bana ba ba godisediwang ko ntle ga lenyalo go na le pharologanyo ka ha ba itshwarang ka teng. So ke etse tlhoko gore re leke go solve mathata go tswa ko modimo a re a tse ko modimo. So ha ntse ke ntse ha tse ke lebeletse I tend to watch things from a distance. So I've made an observation ya gore children who are from outside ba ba tsholelwang ko ntle ga lenyalo, they are different. So gona le eng go ya ka wena se leng gore wa akanya gore mo lenyalong batsadi ba se ha bana ba ileng gore ba ba tsholelwang ko ntle ga lenyalo ga bana sone, ene go ka dirwa eng go leka gore ka gore a kere dikgwetlho di a harologana re kgona go kgaogana re le batsadi ba bangwe ntse ba sa nyalwa ile you can have children before marriage. So what can we do to try to support children kana go nna le whole children regardless gore a ba tswa mo lenyalong or not? You have two questions. I hope o dutlile tsotlhe.
Ke ta le ka go di atata. Me I think what should be the premise besides gore ngwana o tsholetse mo lenyalong ngwana ga a tswela mo lenyalong, what we should understand is ngwana ke ngwana. It being the case, every child needs love, every child needs protection, every child needs nurturing and socialization, irrespective of whether o tsholetse mo lenyalong kana o tsholetse ko ntle ga lenyalo. I think baba iphitlhela ba lesego la gore ba tsholetse mo lenyalo re sa re le gore ba tsholetseng ko ntle bone ba ga ba lesego per se, ke gore o itira le gore it's more giving gore the foundation is better and stronger in terms of kids who are brought up in a married family. The love from both parents, the guidance from both parents, the support from both parents tend to be more empowering. Ba ileng gore go ba iphitlhela ba tsholetse ko ntle ga lenyalo go kgona go nna le yone kgwetho ya gore gongwe the other parent is absent, and ngwana ha kgone go bona enough support of the both parents. But ga ke tse gore as a society re tsene thata mo gore lenyalo or not lenyalo, but just love the kids. Just love the kids as much as you would want to love yourself.
Yeah.
Because at the end of it, we are socializing them. Ke bone bagolo ba kamoso, so we want exemplary parents. So we just need to love the kids. We need to give the kids the platform to be kids and also support them in the attempts and endeavors that they want to pursue mo botselong, while we still guide and put some discipline mo go bone. Ga ke tsora ke di arabile tsotlhe.
Ra o di arabile tsotlhe. Ye nngwe nka lekang go kana nka re nka eletsa gore re tshware ka yone gantsi mo community ya rona we tend to see men less engaged in terms of being there for their children. What do you think is the root cause of it, and regarding or what can be done to encourage men or even to encourage men to be there for their children regardless of the circumstances that we face in life? Just be there for your children, to give support like you were talking about support earlier.
Yeah. I think approaches will differ. And what I'm going to say is purely my perspective and not based on any form of doctrine or anything. But ke dumela gore what we need to do as a society is to socialize the boy child and socialize the boy child better. Empower the boy child. Gore a kgone go nna a better partner, man and husband at the time that they get to that. Because hareka ya go goreng banna ba gompieno ga se banna ba rileng per se. It all boils down to gore how were they brought up, you know. How were they brought up? I know gompieno we have a concern about the nature of men or men in our society. As totality, there's a lot going on. We just need to socialize our boy children, right? We need to teach them to love their sisters. We need to teach them to support their sisters. And also, you know, tomorrow, so how do they complement and support each other? So my view essentially it's purely around socialization, because gompieno we tell working ngwana mosimane o go sala go mara go mo diong tse dingwe ga re mo letelle gore a nne ngwana, ga re mo he chance ya gore go ngwa ka bua mahatha a gagwe, ga re mo lete gore a ka nna le maikuto and a kgone gore a express. Exactly. So a boy needs to cry as well, you know, because that's a form of release. That's a form of healing, or how to show that they are feeling pain or something. Let the boy child be emotional. Because that's basically how we can understand what their needs are.
And also, I think the tools that we are giving to women, they are more as advanced to what we are giving to boys. Tota ke dumela gore kana nkare ke etse tlhoko gore irile re emisa kana re, when we started the campaign here to support a girl child, we created a huge gap. We left a boy child behind. Now he's feeling disempowered, disgruntled, and in pain. And as women, when we get empowered, it gets to our head too much, to where we tend to even forget that relationshiping, I still want to be the head. It's like, balance that life, and it becomes a burden in mo relationshiping. So ke letsa gore hantse re dira di policy kana re ntse re dira melao a re leke kana re dira le di new campaigns. Let's try to have conversations surrounding gore how do we bridge this gap e leng gore re create re na le a gap e leng gore e teng bo re yanong go hella go khosa bo GVB hantele go bolawa le bana le bone ba ipola o tla itlhala ile gore motho nana le bokamoso bo e leng gore bo ka bo le bontsintsi khantele their life is cut short because of their mindset. And mindset change ke so se leng gore ha re ka se bua tsatsi le letsatsi e be re implementa kana ke etse tlhoko gore we are talking, yes, but are we implementing on the ground? Because if you are going to be talking about it and not actually giving resources to try to help the problem, is it going to work? Re ka bua tsatsi lotlhe but ga go ka bereka. Bontsi ba batho ba ileng gore kgantele ba hella ba itsetse matshelo ke baratwa ba rona, ke bana ba rona, ke ditsala tsa rona. We are not saying it's right for people to kill others and kill themselves. At the end of the day, I think it's because of lack of knowing how to deal with emotions. And tota ngwana wa motho wa rre ga o ko tlase tota ha ke mo tshwantshanya le wa mme. And ke eletsa gore ya ka o le re o tsetsweng o nyetsweng gape, let's engage in mentoring and coaching as well. Kore ya ka o le a lecturer ko sekolong, gonne go nna le di-conversation tse eleng gore ha o bona ngwana o eleng gore ka re o na le kgatlhego kana o bona gore o na le bokamoso, mo he di-resource mo nna ntse o mo eme nokeng gore mme ne ke bona gore go ka nna botoka ha o re. It shouldn't be your kid alone kana o eleng gore o mo tsetse. O tshwanetse gore nna ela tlhoko kana nna le kgatlhego mo botshelong ba bana ba bangwe ba eleng gore they are around you. So tota, what do you think of mentoring and coaching in the modern days tse eleng gore re tshela mo go tsone?
I think, as you have put it, we need not to empower the girl child at the expense of the boy child. Are re tele bona hela ba le mmogo gore bote ba kgona gore ba tuture mo botshelong, ba kgona gore ba bone boleng ja bone as human beings and as equal people in the society. And when you talk about issue ya mentoring, not personally, both males and females that I am mentoring professionally. Some are my former students, and more it just comes from how you interact with the student and their sort of interest in what you do or your line of profession. Like as a midwife, I've had so many students I still talk to about life even outside the profession itself or career advancement. We guide them through that. And also we find and talk about opportunities for them professionally and otherwise, because how really population professionally in terms of they have so many needs and banally different levels of go ka tlhaloganya le go tshela mo sekolong le dikgwetlho tsa bone tse leng gore bana le tsone, and also how they display themselves in class, in school, how they behave. And gona le ba ileng gore hantse o tsweletse o ba ruta, you can find that this students have interest or they are keen to become better people mo botshelong, and they are more drawn to your line of thinking and life. It always presents an opportunity to take them along in terms of go ba mentor, in terms of go ba support, in terms of go ba guide, because most of them they are in their late teenage ages and they need guidance from baholo. They need direction professionally, and sometimes they encounter just social problems. So you'll find that at least even in our systems, there are resources to support kids with such needs. And go support le bone bana ba ileng gore ra ba bona mo in our communities ba ileng gore ba thoka dithuso, either through go ba thusa ka go ba rekela di uniform, go ba thusa ka go ba guide, go ba gakolola, even to guide their parents as well. I think it's a social responsibility that we need to take up as a society, gore re leke go bona gore society ya rona in botoka as much as possible, to avoid where we raise angry adults by gore ke ba gore telelo ke go survive a relationshiping, and then we end up having issues about gender-based violence, which is quite unfortunate
and alarming these days.
The very it's good to say the least, but we still have room to make amends as a society. I think we can acknowledge we have reached a crisis point. And it's our responsibility individually and collectively to act on the it's a
crisis.
It's a crisis. Almost every day we get reports monna o bolaile mosadi ngwana o gobaditswe go rileng go rileng. So ke dilo tse e leng gore they are quite unsettling. They are quite unsettling.
O kgona go itlhela ile gore ngwana o nana le bokamoso bo bo rileng kamoso o kgona go itlhela ile gore we live in the days maloba one of a specialist na tlhokagala go ne gote she was the only specialist mo Botswana wa di stem cells. Sekai motho ga o itse gongwe ne ile ene ka moso tsogang ile ene specialist and their life is cut short. So like you are saying kantsore batho ba kgona go retelwa ke botshelo ke tse tlhoko gore due to unprocessed pain we live in a community e leng gore ga re rate go bua ka mathata. We like burying things re di pile kantele in a mountain we leng gore ha isetse re gongwe ke bua selonyana se se kananyana ena ntwa hela e sa heleng wa akanya gore go ka dirwa eng go leka gore re breake mindset wa gore me having a conversation with you in a very holistic way doesn't mean gore ra lwa ka gore ke tse tlhoko gore having a healthy conversation in our culture it's a challenge. And we have reached a point where we need to embrace conversations.
Yeah. That is very true. What we need, Honajana, is to create a safe space for difficult conversations. Ga go motho go addressa dilo tse dingwe. Ga go motho go bua ka gongwe dilo tse e leng gore di go utlwisa botlhoko because people are not ready to listen. The society is not ready to listen or is unable to listen because ga ba tlhaloganye gore motho a reng, motho ba ta gore gompieno even our system hela mo lehatsheng needs to have dilo tse e leng gore ke eng di ha motho the safety to open up. Unfortunately, I can't talk about my issues. There is no safe space. You understand? And people bottle up and like mental health issues, they are not resolving. We should learn to listen as a society and be prepared to allow people to speak what they feel. Because at the end of the day, that's what helps us to help them. Or at least, sometimes you don't really need to do much. You just need to listen to someone pour into you. And where you can't help, it's fine if you can't help or solve someone's problems. But at least you should be able to bring in the next person to say, we have this situation here, can you assist? It's something se leng gore ke se ka re thusa thata re le society. And ga ra tshwana gore re reletse dikgang tsa batho go araba. Nako tse dingwe if you can't, you are not able to respond at the time, give yourself enough time to say, you know what, let me process this, give me time, I will offer a response when I have. And as much as possible also, because we have pockets of anger in our society. Sometimes hold back one more night, address issues still that are heated in a more calmer and collected manner. Because when you try to offer much, only more a stage of rage, you don't really help much. It doesn't really help the situation. So at all costs, at all points, where you can, try recollect, try listen, and respond when you feel your mindset is ready to offer something positive or something that helps the next person become a better human being. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. Ke tse tlhoko gape gore ha re bua kana nkare professional help we are not embracing it, be it therapy. Our community santse what's the word? Stigmatized. Yes, they stigmatize therapy. Go buiwa gore ke gongwe ke dio tsa sekgowa. Nna ke mongwe wa batho ba ileng gore like you were speaking about mental health. I've been diagnosed with depression and ke itse botlhoko ba mental health. Ke itse botlhoko ba go nna in that space. That is why I'm trying all that I can to try to create safe conversations or environments to say, can we listen to each other? Can we, at times, if you can't offer me that solution, you can refer me to somebody who can. At times when you are not in a good space to take that conversation, you can always say, I'm not in a better space to, or maybe in an emotional capacity to have this conversation, which is okay. Yeah. Yes, you can just, in a good space, you can just say, I'm not in a good space to have that conversation. Mm-hmm. But then it takes me to, I think therapy, we embrace in our community, and we still also stigmatize people who are diagnosed with depression. And it leads to a bigger problem now. Ka gore batho ba iphitlha mo eleng gore sekai depression can also be helped by, or maybe e kgona go thusiwa ke dipilisi. Kana e tshwana hela le sekai le any other disease, be it flu. So why should I hide how I feel? And ho gape e tlebere go motho a dule a realize, okay, I'm here now. This is what is happening to me. We gaslight them. Re create scenarios to make them feel like, oh, ka gore wena o ntse jana. So ke letsa gore re tle to a point e leng gore ha ke le Boitumelo, ha Mothusi a tla go nna re kana ke tlhotse ke tswa kwa, I'm diagnosed with depression. Ke ipe mo seemong sa gore Mothusi ke re wa lelapa, Mothusi ke leadera ko tiro, Mothusi ke rrago semamang, Mothusi gongwe ke nkgonne. Anything that can happen to Mothusi can happen to me. And then ke handle that situation the way they kareng ha nele nna ke letse gore e handle ka teng. We really need to start being compassionate. We really need to be thoughtful. We really need to be mindful. We need to be sincere. Re itse go tshwarana mo ditirong, mo malapeng, in any relationship or any social setting, because mental health is so say it's a behavioral thing at times. So if we are going to be intentional about all these things and compassion, we can really reduce or mitigate the risk of others being diagnosed with such, because environment it's a dingwe di create or where people are, they create a problem. So now can we learn to develop ourselves enough to a point where ha ke setse gongwe ke sa go direle sentle ke kgona go ipona, ha ke le motho o self aware hela ha ke sa go direla sentle ke be ke ipona gore ha ke a irela Mothusi sentle. And then that is the cue for me to say gore ha ile gore gongwe ga o sutle go nna ke kgona gore ke etse tlhoko gore go hale ga ke a go buisa sentle mme intshwarele mme lwena ha o tla go nna before ke acknowledge gore ga ke a go direla sentle. These are the things that we tend to take for granted. Me di hokotsa le di kgoberego mo malapeng le dintwa mo ditirong o bona go naalana le go just to learn to understand each other and to learn to build health relationships can reduce the level of mental health worry na le one le GVB cases on, because it's all about how to learn to deal with each other. Personalities, because our personalities are different. Other people are introverts, others are extroverts. So you cannot deal with an introvert the same way you deal with an extrovert. So let's be intentional about our relationships. How lili dara ko tirong, be intentional ka team ya gago. Invest in knowing your team. Ha ile gore phakela umpona ke tla ka ke le in a space se leng gore ga o tlhaloganye roaega batla go itse gore why am I behaving differently, because that conversation that you are having with me that day could be saving my life. So we have come to a point where we are responsible for each other's lives. So are neng community ya rona we are a very small number mo lehatsheng la rona. If we are very intentional about well-being ya each other, we can make it. And I always say, what can hurt me, what can hurt you can hurt me. And botshelo ke leotwana la koloi la dikologa ha ke go supa ka monwana wo mongwe o lebileng. So tota dio tse dingwe, not that we are cursing, but a re ithuteng go tsana sentle. Modimo o re rutile lorato, a re ithutaneng go ratana, a re ithutaneng go rana re sorry, le go ithuta go itshwarela. Go itshwarela ke so se leng gore se dingalo, mme hela ha o se dira go ikgolola wena. Bontsi ba batho ba leng gore ba tsamaya ba rwele ka gore ke kile ka tlhoka go itshwarela for a very long time. I don't wanna lie, I've been through a lot. Not that I'm proud of it gore ke tlhoka go itshwarela. I'm in my journey ye leng gore ke leka gore ke lemogile gore go tlhoka go itshwarela go lwa tsamang nna. So I'm in a journey ye leng gore tota le ha o ntirileng ke maitsebo a ha ke rapela le phakela ha ke rapela ke ra modimo ke re God, teach me to forgive. Because the forgiveness or holding on to the pain, kana that venom ye leng gore motho wa ba intliseditse, it hurts me. So yone pain eo e sala ka nna ke tlabe ke sala ke utlwile botlhoko motho ena a tsweletse ka botshelo ba gago. So tota ke eletsa gore gongwe wa kgele mo goreng, what do you think forgiveness is, kana re ka ithuta methale ehe go itshwarela, kana healthy ways of dealing with conflict in relationships and
First, I think what you mentioned about gore batho ba embrace therapy, I think is one aspect of life that can work for us. Gore people need to see the value in therapy and seek help when you feel like you are in a bad space. And se emele gore seemo se nne maswe ntse ke taya ha go setse go le worse. Therapy is not designed for people who are sick or for people who are unwell only. You can start therapy even when your things are going just fine. Because what you need to maintain this direction of soundness, this direction of purpose, this direction of having sort of a positive view of life. You need some form of continuous reinforcement. Your things are going in the direction that you want. Because if therapy should be for the sick, then we are going to raise a society of people who are unwell. And by the time when they seek therapy, you may find that they have overly indulged themselves into the problem, or they are deeper into the problem. Now taking them out becomes a costly, lengthy exercise. Sometimes it fails because people don't have the patience to sustain themselves through therapy, the whole process. So I think we, as a society, we need to get into the habit of checking ourselves in, checking with therapists more often than you used to, because sometimes you can just lose yourself but when you are constantly checking yourself in, in terms of your GPS, emotional GPS, and therapy. Just check in to see where you can even prepare yourself for situations in that manner, because you are able to identify your strength, you are able to identify your weaknesses, you are able to identify points to improve, you are able to identify your how do you work going forward. So what
do you think forgiveness is, and re ka ithuta yang to embrace conflicts mo di relationshiping?
Hela yo methale means maybe la paso re motho I think Santa ke go acknowledge a phoso ha go le phoso, and always get yourself collected enough to be in the mental state to engage in a difficult conversation that involves conflict resolution. Ha e leng gore o itara e le gore gongwe the mood is not right, the atmosphere is not giving, give yourself time, because problem solving is not an emergency. It's a process that needs one to start off, engage, indulge, and then conversation should be giving between the both parties when disagreement, and it doesn't have any sort of time frame. Give yourself the opportunity to understand the other person's perspective. When you differ with them, which might be the source of conflict, sometimes acknowledge how they feel or what they are telling you, because most of the time the reason why we have the difficulty or challenge to solve conflicts or problems is because we put our perspectives first. We never want to think, why was this person thinking of this then this way? Because we fail to acknowledge how other people feel. Then we fail to even address what their concerns are. So the best thing to do, before when a projector say because when you do that, it also gives you a different perspective into the issues discussed or the conflict that we have, because then you are able to see things from the other person's perspective before you can project your own energies into a conflict situation. Yeah.
Ke dumela go bo rialo ka gore ke dumela gore ha o itsa o ipa mo ditlhakong tsa motho o mongwe o ka hema kana o ka khona gore o bone gore one day hela walk in that person's journey and then experience gore motho o ntsana o ariana hare go tshwana le ha sekai o le kana o godile from a privileged family yo mongwe from a less privileged. I would never know what it means to go to bed hungry. So it means you having to experience them yourself gore ke khone go sympathize kana ke khone gore ke tla ka solution e leng gore it's a permanent solution. I think experience also helps us to come up with permanent solutions, because do tse dingwe ha re solve mathata ra belela re hella re dikologa go one, because we are assuming. So I think research kana maybe just experience, it helps us to navigate life better and put the problems to rest. So ke le Boitumelo ke tle ke ipotse gantsi gore ke eng batho ba borre e kare ga ba batle tota ha ile kganye ya therapy, lo tshaba eng ka go bua kana ka ore bolelele gore ke eng se o akanyang gore se tshabisa borre go bua tota se leng gore
I think by nature we don't like feeling weak. We don't want to expose our vulnerability. It's just the nature of man. We don't want to show that we can be weak. We don't want to show that we can be emotional. Now, when the issue of therapy, it forces you to expose yourself to these sort of areas or situations where sometimes you have to speak about what your weakness is about something. We don't want that. You don't want to expose your emotions, emotional. We don't want that. And therapy itself sort of opens up an individual to gore a bue ka maikutlo a gagwe, and sometimes experience maikutlo a gagwe. And generally borre socialization ya rona le mo Setswaneng has made us to sort of be tough, and go therapy kana gone you will get to be soft on yourself. Socialization therapy we tell that sort of conflict, and ha e leng gore ngwe monna o tshwanela ke gore a bue maikutlo a gagwe o batla gore a ba rediwa. sometimes the environment, situation, conditions do not allow it becomes problematic. And more sort of an experiential thing because this is what my friend has experienced, I wouldn't want to go through the same thing. For example, borre ga ba report the issues tsa gore they are abused by women. They can't go to the police and report because what or the environment is not safe for a man to speak about. So those are some of the challenges that we face as men. Re kgone go phuthuloga re bue se ileng gore sa ram gape mo ngwe hela generally se peculiar to men ke khanyela gore sometimes people don't understand when you speak to what you feel. So it's like you are going in circles trying to explain or this is how I feel, this is how I see things and all of that. So those are some of the balances that we are not able to get in order and open up about the problems that they are having.
We do so se ke se tseng thoko le sekai o bona ha gona le problem bo we acknowledge kana gongwe ke gore ke ro ntiretse phoso kasi o bo dumalana o tsuru go mo ke molemo.
It saves you time.
It saves you time. It saves you even go nwa dipilisi go tshwana le motho sekai wele tlhoko mo di relationship bomme ha khusa motho a reka gore o real o tsuru the moment o bua nnete bo gale bole bo go bo mmeole ba go tlase.
Gape mo gongwe I think what tends to work best, don't be quick to want to finish a conversation, especially where there's a conflict. Take your time. Ha ileng gore o feel gore you are in a bad space, don't talk about it. Where you feel like you are in a bad space, don't talk about it because it allows you to formulate your mindset properly. Only free of anger, only free of toxicity, only free of rage. Because if you want to engage or indulge in a conversation, only this sort of instability in emotions, I can promise you'll get away with nothing that you'll be proud of. If you just give it one more night, the following day it will be different. How you view the whole situation, how it occurred, and also how you view the person who is involved in the conversation or the conflict. So one more night really helps a lot.
But I agree with you. Through the journey ke le mogone ke kilane le nna ke itlhaganela go batla go solve the conflict. But then I remember with my other friend, we had a conflict. I'm not in an emotional capacity to handle this right now. She cried and she was very angry about it. I feel gore ga ke mo respect ebile ke batla gore ga ke batle go bua le ene. So ebe ke re kana mme ke tsa gore goha we are both angry right now. I'm trying to avoid where now ra go bua do tse leng gore ka moso re tla bo re di ikotlaela. I may say something tse leng gore I don't really mean and ka moso I can't take it back. So I think in our community re rata gore re gongwe re na le dikgotlang ebe re gonela right away be re dila le tsone re santse re le angry. But I think like you are saying, that is the root cause of kantelele ra bolana because maikutlo a ba santse a le go godimo a bela. So ha re ka ipha nako ya to calm down, to rationally think, we can just save lives. And also le di high blood kana go gongwe kantele go motho o tlodile pelo ka gore you o batla gore o react gone ho santse so it's okay for us to not have or to not engage in a conversation it's not good for you in that at that state of the mind, and be confident about it or unapologetic about it, because kamoso re tshela mo dinakong tse eleng gore o kgona gore gongwe motho e le molwetse bo gote nna bua le semamang kana gongwe conversation e recording e bo ithala le gore bo gote the last person when I have a conversation ke so tota I think we need to learn to be self-aware enough to learn to choose things and have options to say, no, I can't engage in that conversation right now. Can we rather have it 2 weeks later? It's still 2 weeks to have that conversation. But the rest of the avoid. I think avoidance also it's a problem in our community. We like avoiding things. They create a big problem because we avoided to have that conversation. What do you think of our avoidance in our culture, and what can be done to people who like they are solving a problem ka avoidance?
I think Khading mentality does not work. And part of us have approached different issues like that. But a societal problem, one way or the other, it will affect you directly or indirectly. So issue of avoidance doesn't really solve anything or doesn't really solve much. So how can I avoid avoidance? So that we make sure that we address issues and respond to issues accordingly. So that we deal with issues and get them off the table. Because at the end of it, if you avoid something, it will never be resolved. Because at the end of the day, although you are the involved party, you have to deal with the issue. And avoidance, procrastination, hell, because that issue will still stay unresolved. We need to get to it. Give issues time. We also need to be wary of the time frame. Do it within the best reasonable time. The best reasonable time make it we don't want to talk about them. Getting to discussing some of these issues. Mutual understanding, mutual respect, and being intentional about wanting to address or resolve an issue. And you'll find that when you address conflicts, you address issues with the goal to solve rather than to confront or make the other person feel bad. It tends to work best for the both parties because it's a win-win. Because if I can issue a win-lose, then it becomes a fight or a confrontation. And at the end of it, the outcome thereof, both parties.
I think in Harika Dila Lema Tata Kanankare with problems like this, and be it at work, be it at home, because mostly there's a new trend experiencing moditirong where there's I would say workplace bullying, kana leadership it's unfair. Let's say for instance your favorite sekai and me gongona le di team members they work hard mme bo le tsogo la gago le sekamela ka ha go leleng go mo go hella ile gore go create the behavior kana ka go distort a culture mo eleng gore khantele le bana ba mo lapeng ba khona go hella ba ilana ka gore mtate o tsayo le ka letsogo lele mme o tsayo le ka letsogo lele boss wa rona o tsayo le ka letsogo lele. What do you think because these things how do already problems of a myriad temporary solutions, they're always going to be recurring. And sadly ke gore nako nngwe they're going to come at a time when we least expect it, kana ho gongwe bile re na le a more crisis eleng gore ga re na nako ya gore re ka dila le that. Let's problem solve to permanently get rid of problems. And so ke eletsa gore a ko bue ka this new trend ya workplace bullying eleng gore re tshela mo eleng gore gompieno ha motho o bereka ko tirong, it can be your child, it can be your wife, it can be your sister kana tsala ga a go bolela ka eleng gore o tshela ka teng ko tirong. Mme khantele o khona go hella o tsana o tshwara one malwetsi ya mme o na le bana, o na le other responsibilities. Others khantele ba hella ba tsa di choices tse di tshwana le tsa bo go tlogela tiro. Like earlier I was talking to my team here gore 3 people quit their job just this week. So yes, people quit their jobs without a plan, and these people are family people. Wa bona le di responsibilities wa gongwe ba bangwe ba na le mortgage, ba bangwe ba na le di car loans, ba bangwe le di housing loans. Ko re stresses go overwhelm to a point e leng gore leaving your job is the only way. What do you think can be done in the workplaces to try to be each other's sisters keepers or brothers keepers? Mo eleng gore re itse gore ha ke ile tirong, the bottom line ke yone e matterang. And if I'm a leader, gore ke etse ko gore ke equipe my team with resources and fairly allocate resources. What do you think we can be doing? What do you think can be done in terms of leadership gore dilo di tsamaye sentle khantele go ska ga costa le di organization well-being ya di employee or even our country kana economy ya lehatshe la rona?
Yeah. I usually say matata a motho ke motho. Wana le motho ese matata. Motho nga ba sana matata. So when you speak of issues workplace bullying, like toxic work environment, it's a painful thing. You know, it's a painful thing because we spend most of our time at work, and if at work is what we experience a lot of toxicity. That means part of our life is engulfed by negative energy, and it's a costly exercise, you know, to find one in. Me senka sibuang ke gore we need leaders who are ready to lead. We need leaders who are prepared to deal with different people, different personalities, and people of different strengths and weaknesses. We need leaders who are respectful. We need leaders who are ready to listen. We need leaders who are informed. And we need leaders with strong personalities. Because the reason why a leader suddenly perpetuates a toxic environment, somehow, they are projecting their level of unpreparedness to be leading such a particular institution, department, or team. A good leader is a person who acknowledges the strength of the whole team and also supports those that need to be supported to be able to accomplish their work. But the leader perpetuates toxicity. Like you say, recently 3 people left. That tends to be the convenient option because it takes a toll on the individual if the environment is not giving. People cannot exert themselves better because the environment is not supportive. People are not able to feel a sense of belonging because the leadership does not see their value or presence in the workplace to a point where now leaving seems to be the best way out. So it's a culture where it's quite rampant. Khobereka is a problem. Khobereka is a problem. So I think as we are leaders in our own rights. We are leading our families. That in itself, it's an establishment. Leader. We lead professionally. We are leaders in the society. So as much as we can, we should understand the values of the office we lead, understand the values of the families we need, and nurture them as much as we can. Support those that are under us so that we prepared them to continuity. A sense of belonging. Because once a toxic environment it disappears, people tend to feel themselves better. They have better self-esteem and they feel good about themselves and have a sense of belonging and want to deliver and do good in life.
And by the extra miles, performance lone go godimo because motho motivated can they'll always go an extra mile whether you ask them or not. And di bile o ka find the gap they are not even wena o le boss wa gago no se aware gore di teng. So tota I think toxic workplaces can limit the organization or our economy from growing because let's say I'm stuck in dwelling into my problems. I can't think. So I kry anong ke nna hela ke akantse ka mathata a me. Do tsa me tsene le gore in my brighter mentality or space, I could be picking out, oh, this thing, I guess, we can create this and we become more innovative. So, tota re bola innovation, ka go tlhola re gatile batho mo melaleng. So, tota, we also create, the generation e tswang ko tlase, it's very innovative and creative and very vocal. So, we need, like you are saying, we need to learn to deal with different kind of people. Re itse gore generation e ko tlase ya e botsa dipotso. Ga se long gore you just give an instruction and then o bore my way or no way. So tota we need to adjust. Leadership kanankare growth is about learning how to adjust and knowing gore this thing is not about me only. It's about other people. It's about engaging and also it's about feedback. One thing we tend to avoid is to have feedback. It helps at times to know, am I doing this okay? In a constructive and in a polite way, like you were talking about mutual respect earlier. They do speak, but is there respect? Because some of them are older than us. Do we apply respect when we give feedback? And ho gongwe halo bereka in a project and more projecting gongwe ga gona feedback menako ya tsamaya lo bereka mo selong, then a year down the line you come back and you say what do you think is the impact of it mo tirong gore ra avoid feedback, timely feedback? Because I think the time, like we were talking earlier, it does matter when you give somebody feedback and how you give them the feedback. What do you think feedback can impact projects mo ditirong kana gongwe mo botsalanong kore feedback e hela ka boyone? Can you speak to it?
I think feedback is necessary because at the end of it, it helps the other person to understand where they are, to understand how they are performing, to understand what they need to do. Positive feedback is always good. Negative feedback, how do we deliver it? Let's be constructive. Let's not be negative. You have to, if you are the bearer of bad news, always package them in a manner that the other party can be able to handle. Because if you give feedback to someone for them to feel better about themselves, you are not helping them to be better. There are ways that you can use to package a negative feedback that could be constructive to an individual, because at the end of it, the reason why you give that feedback is for that person to change one thing or another, so that tomorrow when they do it, the same work or same task, they don't repeat the same mistake. So go botlhokwa gape le gone gore re ntshe feedback ka nako, because timeless feedback helps a person to change and change on time, which also helps in terms of improving outcomes more in the workplace, outcomes in the relationship, accomplishment of tasks. If people are working on some type of project or anything, so it's always important to be mindful of what do I say to the next person about what they were doing, and how do I say it to them in a way that they are able to understand that they need to be doing something differently. So it's an art in itself. It's something that you learn over time to be a good deliverer of feedback. Because if you don't understand what the value of the feedback is, we are not able to sort of package it right to the receiver. Clear communication. What do you want? What do you need? And how do you need it? So it's always important to make sure that we are on the same page when we give feedback, so that whatever message that we are communicating, it's well understood by the receiver on the other end.
As a leader, I would like to say that it's imperative for us to stay developed, the reading culture.
Yeah.
I think the world changes every day, and leadership is something the perfect way of doing it.
Yeah.
So you tailor make it to the people that you are dealing with, and the time, because it keeps on changing.
Yeah.
Because there is a new way of doing things. So leadership is also being able to grow, adjust, and also read. So I would really encourage re adopted the reading culture. Re bale di buka tse eleng gore they keep us onto stage se eleng gore re itse gore mo nakong ya gore se nnanne kana nkare setho kana nkare what is needed more modern day leadership. Ga re sa tlhole re tshela mo leadershiping yele ye hitileng yele ye leng gore re ne re dira yana a re ithute go tsamaya ka dinako. And with that being said, I would like to ask you, what are you currently reading right now?
What is the name of that book? But the book is it's about dealing with negative people, narcissists, and toxic people as a highly sensitive individual. Because I don't find time to sit and read.
Yeah.
So I've opted for audiobooks. And usually I'll listen to my books when I drive to the farm. I would have about, my traveling time will be about 2 hours, 1 hour to go, 1 hour to come back. And that's when I listen to my audiobooks. But in terms of the other books that I've read, I want to read books that give me a lesson of some sort, and I don't want to I don't like long reads because I can't concentrate as much, but audiobooks for me, they're like music. I hear to remember, but when I read, I tend to forget. So I'm more into the audiobooks. The other one that I recently read, and I read it for the second time, was the 4 Agreements, to say, refresh my mind in terms of the things that I have to value in life.
Yeah.
And it tends to sort of help when you read, how do you maneuver life when things are this way? And it also empowers you as an individual, be knowledgeable, be knowledgeable. Our sciences, our maths, and all of that only. But also we need to read about life because that's how it empowers us.
Yeah.
So that's basically what I'm currently doing. But my wife is way better than I do in terms of reading. But when I get the energy to read, I read and finish, and then run with the book in my life for as long as I can.
Yeah. I think tota hela ke buisiwa ke gore we need to be multipliers. We need to have that multiplying effect ye leng gore ha ke bala selo behavior me somehow ya go hetoga be ke khona gore ke se transferele to you, then to the next person. It becomes a chain, and I can be able to change like 5 people or even 1 person. So tota reading culture helps us to change our rona as individuals and people around us. So tota we really need to be intentional about reading and changing the world so that we can leave a legacy eleng gore kantele ha ke tsamaya ebe ke na le motlhala o eleng gore go ka te mme Boitumelo hitile hale mme Mothusi o hitile hale ga o ka ke a batla gore re o sena gongwe ha o setse o tsamaya ebe go sena trace ya gore o kilo a heta ho.
Absolutely.
Creating a legacy ke one of the respectful way of remembering someone kana lo ena hela o nna motlotlo gore bo o itebella gore mme ke a go tlogela se ha ke hulara mo lehatseng le le ka kwano. So tota it's a culture ya gore ke sa itebelle ke le nosi a re develope ba bangwe mo ditirong mo di officing. Let's equally share resources. Let's equally train people. Let's mentor children. Let's mentor not only children le bagolo ba ba ko ditirong ba ileng gore santse ba tlhoka go train you because we come from different backgrounds. Batho ba bangwe ka go tlhoka lesego gongwe ga bana people with kana nkare models, role models to model certain behaviors to them. So tota let's be that engaged community where I care about what happens to Mothusi, where I care about what happens to Taboka. Life shouldn't only be about me, and we should be courageous and be selfless and be compassionate and be empathetic towards one another. We can save a lot of lives.
Absolutely.
Hareka inherited that culture.
Yeah.
With that being said, Mothusi, the boy, I would like to thank you for honoring this interview, and I wish you well in your life. And ke tumela gore lo ena ko ntle kwa you are mentoring children ko skolong kana le ditsala tsa gago ha o bona ba seleka teng, especially batho ba borre. Na I get encouraged when ke na le motho a tsala re ke mmotsa gore kore ha na le bothata khona go bua le nna kana ke motsa gore I like talking about therapy to men because I know that they don't like embracing kana ba tsa gore therapy ke a weakness. So e rontso hold le di conversation tsa gago le ko itse gore you are a community builder, itse gore modimo brought you for a purpose le ka go nantso engage. Let's create these safe spaces for our boy children to talk about it, and we also started from our children. These conversations re simolla ka go ruta bana ba rona kgantele it translates to other relationships.
I'm thankful for the opportunity to have been with you in this discussion. I think it's let's carry these types of conversations over and in our different spaces, and let's allow people to speak, and let's be supportive. Let's be available, and let's listen. Thank you very much.
Mme ke itumela gore o bole ke go leletsa masego le matlhogono le mo go tsotlhetse o di dira mo botshelong ba gago.
I receive.
Right. Ke itumela gore be re Mothusi Ncube ha. Viewers at home, thank you for watching. Le kamoso, subscribe and share with the community. Thank you. Bye.
I know that I will make it. If you've been